Hi everyone, welcome back to the Hollywood Actors Guide to Surviving the Film and Television Industry. This is your host, Jennifer Lynn Warren. How you guys doing? I can't believe it's August. It's August 5th, 2020. And today we are going to start off with talking about the reason you're exhausted is something called moral fatigue. And there was this great article I found on Rolling Stone, and you can Google moral fatigue and you'll find like a lot of very deep dive psychology medical papers on it. But Elizabeth Yuko did a really great Rolling Stone article on it, and I think it really puts it more for, easier for us to understand. And so I want to read to you part of this article. In most of our everyday lives, this comes into play when we're making what used to be routine decisions. Let's take the example of going to the grocery store. A few weeks ago, you probably would have made the trip without a second thought, but it's no longer that simple. If you leave your home to go to the supermarket, a public place where everyone is touching everything from food to carts to money, it could put you in contact with a virus if someone coughs or sneezes near you or on something you touch. Of course, there's a concern over whether you'll get infected, but beyond that, we now have to consider whether we could then unknowingly pass the virus on to someone else at the store, on the bus, or in our own homes, and then whether that person will pass it along to others, and so on and so on and so on. We are now in many ways thinking about things we wouldn't have previously reflected on. The chain of causality has always been there, but now it has become important for us to be more reflective about the multiple layers of complex causality in the real scope of our decision making. And that is where moral fatigue comes in. Now that many routine aspects of our lives involve high-stakes decision making, it's a lot for our brains to process. According to Bauer, which is a doctor that they were interviewing, this is because we allow ourselves to be lazy and oblivious to our interdependence, taking it for granted. We're now forced to be aware of it, he says. Now, all small types of interaction can have severe consequences. It requires an added level of mental effort, carefulness, and reflectiveness. Unsurprisingly, moral fatigue has taken a toll on our mental health. So I think this is interesting. All these things that we took for granted, very, very simple things, they're wearing us out. Just the simple act of going to the grocery store is not simple anymore. Not only are we wondering how to keep ourselves safe and how to keep other people safe, there's the question of whether it's even the right thing to do to even go to the grocery store in the first place. And what does this have to do with you as an actor? Well, one, it has everything to do with your mental health right now and whether or not you're feeling motivated. And number two, I don't know about you, but auditions, the very few that I have been getting, have been really stressful. And I'm kind of baffled as to why they've been feeling stressful, and I haven't talked about it because I'm just confused by it. But I think this really puts a light on it, because beyond just the decision we have, about going to the store, there are productions that are opening up and they're starting to film, and there's this added layer of, as actors, of, are we going to be protected? Is this a job that I should take? Is this a union job that's going to have COVID compliance officers, or am I taking something that's non-union and they're not having any sort of compliance officers? Is that a smart thing to do with my career? Is this job worth potentially putting my life and my career in jeopardy, as some people who are coming down with COVID are having long-term lung issues? And as actors, we cannot afford to have damage done to our lungs. That's not a great thing. So we need to protect ourselves. So regardless of where you stand possibly politically on the spectrum of this virus and what you believe, you need to be aware of that the people that are getting sick, as there are people getting sick, and even if you do believe it's a, quote, just a cold, this just a cold is causing really bad lung damage. And so you need to really reflect on that as an actor. And so there is a weight to these auditions that were not there before. And I don't know what the answer is, but I do find it a bit comforting to know why I'm feeling fatigued, why it's so hard to do much that's creative right now, even though I'm forcing myself to do it. And I do feel better when I do force myself, I will say that. But yeah, it's 8:43 at night, and I usually record the podcast about 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. So it took me this long to get my butt in this chair to record this podcast. So it is affecting all of us. And I will put the Rolling Stone article on the Facebook Hollywood Actors Guide to Surviving Film and TV Industry page if you guys are interested in checking that out and maybe seeing if just having a little bit of knowledge of what that is and how it's affecting you could possibly, I hope it helps you guys out there. Let's talk about something fun that may or may not be of interest of you, but little side hustles for actors are good to know about. And I've actually seen some of these castings come down the pipeline lately, and they're doing it online unless you are a model, quote, who's getting together with a hairstylist. But one of the ways that I made really good money out in Los Angeles for a while until I got much older. So this is definitely for like the 20 to like 35-year-olds mostly, though they do ask for older people occasionally, specifically if you have gray hair, is these really cool things I would do called hair shows. And you can find them on LA Casting. There's a talent agency I work with still called All Around Talent. And what you do is, back in the day, we would go into a room and these hairstylists would look at our hair. And then if you booked a job, and sometimes it worked that day, a lot of times it was, they would wash your hair and they would cut and color and style it for you. And it was always something that you agreed to. So it was something you would say yes or no to. And you knew before you went into the casting what kind of haircuts they were looking to do. And so if you're like, yeah, I'm a brunette, so I want to keep it brunette, and that's about my haircut, like you're very likely to get cast because they just want to take that and zhuzh it up with like their brand of hair color so that they can show it to their clients. And they usually pay pretty good. For a low end, if they're just washing your hair to be like, look how great our shampoo is, you can make like $150 for the afternoon. I would also book these, what they would call hair shows down in Long Beach. And I always worked for Sebastian because I think I kind of an edgy look to me and they're an edgier company. So they would dress us in these like all black, like a lot of Gucci, Prada, like high-end clothes, and they would do our hair live on stage, and we would get paid a couple $1,000s for the weekend and come out with amazing looking hair, which is great for actors. And you'd walk around the hair show and people would give you thousands of dollars in free product. I mean, they were just like handing out stuff like left and right. So it's something to look at. I know that they are doing like virtual castings right now. And then they are in the big markets, you are meeting up with just the hairdresser, the hairstylist, and you are doing it like just the two of you. And like, they're taking safety precautions and things like that. And then over Zoom, they are presenting you to their client. So that's just a little fun thing if you haven't thought of doing that you may want to look into. And they always need guys. So if you are a guy and you're willing to grow your hair out just a little bit to give them something to cut, they're always drooling over the guys. They want the guys. So it's really good money, guys. Go get it. Our last little tidbit today is the idea of be a solution to the world, don't be a problem. I hope that doesn't come out negative. That kind of sounded negative in that moment. But be a solution, don't be a problem. What does that mean? That means you have a choice on how you're living life. You can go on Facebook and you can complain about your life, or you can be a solution and you can make some funny skits to share with your nieces and nephews to make them laugh. You can complain to your agent right now that you don't want to do all these self-tapes and you want to be in the room and you don't want to audition if, yada, yada, yada. Or you can be a solution and figure out how to make the lighting in your place work the best, how to set your camera up the best way, and really get familiar with the technical know-how so that when they're looking for actors that are comfortable shooting in their homes, you can book those commercials and cry all the way to the virtual bank. So I know, we talked about moral fatigue on here. I tried to give you guys some fun stuff in the middle. I know we are in hard, crazy times right now, and it is hard to be positive, but it's also a choice. There's so much negativity going on that I don't want to be a place of negativity for you guys. I want to try to keep you motivated. I'm trying to give you guys as much positivity as possible. And in that, you have to do the work. You have to be willing to think of some solutions and put your best foot. Yep. Okay. Yep. COVID brain kicking in. Put your best self forward. How about that? So thank you very much for listening, you guys. Thank you so much. Break a leg out there, and remember, you are not alone.